The story begins with a mid-storm. A plane tears through violent weather as Linda and her colleagues return from a business trip. Everything seems manageable until the aircraft starts shaking violently. Then an explosion rips through the cabin. Passengers standing without seatbelts are thrown in every direction. Seconds later, a section of the fuselage blows open from pressure, and several people are sucked straight out into the open sky. In the chaos, the office manager grabs Linda's leg to save himself. Another man reaches toward the boss for help, but the boss shoves him away without hesitation. As the man falls, he grabs the manager's leg on the way down. The sudden weight pulls the manager completely off balance, and both of them tumble out of the plane together. Linda barely has time to process any of it. The cabin goes dark. The plane is nosediving straight toward the ocean, with nothing to stop it. By sheer luck, the angle of impact keeps the plane from exploding on contact, and Linda survives the crash. She tears off her seatbelt as water floods in fast and fights her way to the surface. She breaks through, alive but completely alone in the middle of the ocean, with no land in sight. Then she spots it, a small island in the distance. She swims toward it with everything she has. By morning, she drags herself onto the shore, completely exhausted. She made it, but the real danger hasn't started yet. A short distance down the beach, she notices a body washed up near the waterline. She runs over and stops cold. It's Bradley, her boss. He survived the crash too, carried unconscious by the current all the way to the same island. His leg is broken from the fall, but he's breathing. Out of everyone on that plane, only the two of them made it. Even then, Linda wasn't happy to see him, because he was the person she hated the most in the company. Back at the company, Linda had been the most capable employee in the entire strategy department. She worked her way up through years of effort and was on the verge of being promoted to manager. Then the original boss died suddenly and his son Bradley inherited everything. His first move was to strip Linda of her promotion and hand it to one of his friends. After that, he made a habit of humiliating her in front of the entire office. She had every reason to leave him on that beach, but she thought that if she helped him, she might be able to become the manager again. Instead, she picked up a sharp rock and got to work. She cut banana leaves and gathered branches, lashing everything together with vines to build a small shelter against the sun. Next, she dug into the sand, lined the hole with coconut husks, and covered it with leaves. When rain came shortly after, clean drinking water collected easily. Once Bradley regained consciousness, she was right there with water ready. He drank the water and thanked her, awkwardly, reluctantly, but he thanked her. She wasn't done. She rubbed sticks together until fire caught, then caught a fish and cooked it over the open flame. Bradley looked at the plain, unseasoned fish like it was beneath him. He ate it anyway. Linda, on the other hand, was completely at peace. No one here could demean her, no performance reviews, no office politics, no one looking down at her. She could live like this for a long time. Days passed. The contrast between them became impossible to ignore. Linda moved through the island with quiet confidence, finding small victories everywhere. Bradley grew more restless and irritable by the hour. Eventually, he snapped. He demanded to know why she hadn't built an SOS signal on the beach or expanded the fire to attract passing ships. He called her out, voice rising, accusing her of performing helpfulness without actually helping. He was completely dependent on her. Broken leg, no survival skills, no way to do anything on his own, and he still spoke to her like she owed him something. Linda listened. Then she stood up, said nothing, and walked away. Bradley threw insults at her retreating back, but the moment she was gone, reality settled in. He waited for her to return on her own terms. She didn't come back that afternoon. She didn't come back that evening. A storm rolled in overnight and tore the shelter apart completely. By the next morning, the sun was relentless. Without water, Bradley collapsed from dehydration. Only then did Linda return, water in hand. He drank without a word of argument. The lesson landed. He understood now exactly where he stood, but then his eyes drifted to the spear Linda had been sharpening. She mentioned she was going into the jungle to hunt a wild boar. Bradley knew immediately how dangerous that animal was and told her not to go. His concern wasn't entirely selfless. If something happened to Linda, he had no chance of surviving on his own. She ignored him completely and headed into the jungle. She moved quietly through the trees, tracking the animal. Then, without warning, the boar charged and launched her into the air. A fallen tree blocked its path at just the right moment, giving her a split second to scramble to her feet and run. The boar caught her scent and chased her through the undergrowth, finding only shredded fabric in her trail. Linda had already circled back. She drove the spear deep into the animal's side. The boar thrashed wildly, snapping the spear in half and turned to charge again. Linda jammed a wooden stick directly into its path. The boar went down. When Bradley saw the severed head, the color drained from his face. For the first time, he understood exactly what kind of person Linda was. After that, he stopped pushing back. Fear had replaced arrogance. Days later, while searching deeper into the jungle, Linda discovered a waterfall with clean, fresh water flowing directly from the rocks. The relief was immediate, but before she could fully enjoy it, she heard the distant sound of a boat engine. She sprinted toward the coastline. A vessel was moving through the water nearby, close enough to flag down. She opened her mouth to call out, then she stopped. If she went home, everything waiting for her was exactly the same. Another boss, another set of humiliations, another promotion handed to someone less qualified. But here, she answered to no one. She made every decision. She was in complete control. She stepped back into the trees and watched the boat disappear over the horizon without making a sound. Back at camp, she told Bradley nothing. Bradley had his own frustrations building quietly beneath the surface. 2 weeks on this island had changed him in ways he hadn't expected. He asked Linda to help him build a raft, something basic that could get them close enough to a passing vessel to signal for help. Linda refused immediately, calling it too dangerous. That was the breaking point. He'd followed her lead from the start, and she'd overruled him at every turn. He announced he was building his own camp and his own raft. It went badly almost immediately. He couldn't light a fire. His broken leg kept him from traveling any real distance. He collected rainwater and coconut shells and managed to throw together a small shelter. He scratched the word help into the sand and stared at the ocean. 2 full days passed with no response. Hunger forced him to try eating insects from the ground around him. He vomited immediately. Meanwhile, Linda sat at her camp eating well-cooked food with complete satisfaction. Bradley crawled back. On his knees, literally on his knees, leg injury ignored completely, he apologized. Linda watched him for a moment, then laughed and let him back in. He was humiliated, but he was patient. About 2 weeks later, his condition had improved enough to move around more freely. Linda took him to the highest point on the island. The view was extraordinary, but Linda focused his attention on what was dangerous. She pointed out dark berries growing along the path and pressed the juice against her own arm. Red welts rose on her skin within minutes. Further ahead, she pointed to a section of rock formation shaped like an X and warned him that everything beyond it was filled with poisonous vines and unstable ground. She told him clearly, never go past that point under any circumstances. Bradley listened carefully. On the way back down, he pretended to be tired and stopped near the berry bushes. He quietly pocketed a few. At that exact moment, the ground gave way beneath Linda, and she dropped straight down into a hollow pit below the surface. The terrain looked solid from above, but was completely hollow underneath. Bradley panicked and pulled her out with both hands, broken leg and all. It was the first time she let herself trust him. A storm hit days later and destroyed the camp entirely. They found a cave nearby and took shelter inside. Soaked and freezing, they stripped their wet clothes and huddled together for warmth through the night. Slowly, Linda found herself developing feelings for him. As weeks continued, Bradley learned to identify every dangerous plant on the island. One evening, he offered to cook dinner as a gesture of gratitude. Linda agreed without much thought. The meal was genuinely impressive, but partway through eating, the room tilted. Her vision blurred and her legs gave out completely. She hit the ground hard. Bradley didn't look back. He walked straight into the jungle and returned dragging a wooden raft he had secretly built over time. He had seen through her intentions long ago. She was never going to let him leave willingly. The poisoned berries had given him exactly the window he needed. He pushed the raft into the water and paddled hard without looking back. He didn't get far. A large wave split the raft in half. A second wave pulled him under entirely. When Linda came around, she dragged him back to shore herself. The moment he opened his eyes, he started apologizing. Linda said nothing. She handed him a cooked crab and watched him eat. Within minutes, his mouth went completely numb. The paralysis spread through his body rapidly. Linda explained calmly, blue-ringed octopus venom. Total paralysis. No movement possible. Completely conscious throughout. She had done this to make a point. Then she produced a knife, heated the blade, and pulled down his pants. She moved toward him slowly, gesturing at what she was about to do. Bradley's eyes went wide with pure terror. The knife swung, blood sprayed, and Bradley choked. Then Linda held up what she had actually cut. In reality, it wasn't a human body part at all. It was a rat. She had done all of this just to scare Bradley so that he would never dare to pull such a stunt again. Her cleverness, combined with the knife in her hand, completely shattered Bradley's arrogance, and he started obeying her without asking any questions. But Linda's control over the situation didn't last. Days later, a boat appeared again, and this time the person on board had already seen her before she could hide. As the vessel pulled closer, Linda recognized the woman immediately. It was Jenny, Bradley's fiancée. The rescue teams had long since given up, but Jenny had kept searching the same area alone and finally found what she was looking for. Linda forced a smile. She confirmed to Jenny that Bradley was alive, but Linda had no intention of leaving, and now both Jenny and her guide knew the truth about both survivors. Linda made a quiet decision. She told them she knew a shortcut and led them toward the cliffs, the exact unstable terrain where she herself had nearly fallen through. She pretended to tie her shoe and sent them ahead. Jenny stepped forward and the ground collapsed beneath her. The guide was still standing. Linda stood there alone with the reality of what she had just done. She returned to Bradley without the others. He noticed immediately that she had come back alone. Later, Bradley went into the jungle alone to hunt. He tracked a small boar and moved in quietly. Then he looked down. A human hand was protruding from the disturbed soil where the animal had been digging. He leaned closer. He was completely shocked and then saw the ring, the exact engagement ring he had placed on Jenny's finger himself. He ran straight back to camp in anger. Linda saw him coming and had 1 second of visible panic before composing herself. He held up the ring and demanded an explanation. She told him it was an accident. He didn't believe a single word. She reached for the knife at her waist, but he had already taken it earlier without her noticing. Seeing this, Linda panicked and immediately ran into the jungle. He also followed her. When Linda realized she had no way left to escape, she quickly came up with a new plan. At that very moment, Bradley spotted her shadow behind a tree, but when he reached the spot, all he found were the shoes she had left behind. Their laces were missing, which made him realize that something wasn't right. Suddenly, Linda dropped from above and wrapped the laces around his throat. He staggered and thrashed, struggling to breathe. The knife fell from his hand. Then he grabbed her hair, yanked hard, and drove her face into the mud. He pinned her down and pushed harder. Linda's hand found the knife in the dirt. When she cleared the mud from her eyes, Bradley was gone. He had run directly into the restricted zone she had warned him about, but she didn't follow. Bradley pushed through the jungle and came out the other side and stopped completely. Between two massive rock formations stood a fully equipped luxury villa. This was no deserted island. It was someone's private property. He ran to the door and shouted for help. No answer. The door was already open. Inside, he found lights, modern appliances, a refrigerator stocked with drinks. He grabbed a water bottle and drank. Then Linda's voice came through the speakers. As soon as Bradley heard that, the whole truth started becoming clear to him. He realized that all the stories about the poisonous zone had been nothing but lies. The story had been made up solely to keep him away from this place. Now, without any hesitation, Linda revealed everything and told him the whole truth. She had found the villa herself weeks earlier, when the supply boat that came monthly had led her straight to it. The owner of Villa came here rarely. She had memorized the door code, cleaned the place after every visit, and used it quietly without the owner ever suspecting a thing. Everything was running perfectly, but Jenny's sudden arrival ruined her entire plan. Unintentionally, the situation escalated to the point where she felt compelled to kill Jenny. Hearing this shocking truth sent chills down Bradley's spine. Bradley searched frantically for a way to call for help. Before he found anything, Linda walked through the front door, carrying a hunting rifle from inside the villa. Bradley dropped to his knees immediately. He told her he wasn't going anywhere. He told her he would stay on the island with her. He told her, voice breaking, that somewhere along the way, he had genuinely fallen in love with her. Linda listened. Something felt wrong. Her eyes moved to the mounted bull's head on the wall and noticed a gap where something had been removed. And then, she reached for the golf club beside her. Bradley raised the rifle and pulled the trigger. Nothing. Empty. Linda had already unloaded it. The very next moment, she began striking Bradley repeatedly. The final blow was so powerful that Bradley collapsed and died on the spot. She positioned herself as the sole survivor of a devastating plane crash. A miracle of human endurance and willpower. The world believed her. The attention came fast. The money followed. She had everything she ever wanted on her own terms, answering to no one. So now you guys tell me, was Linda the villain or the hero? Comment below and subscribe. New story every week.